The FBI set up the Behavioral Science Unit, BSU, in 1917 too. The unit's goal was easy to understand. It wanted to come up with methods, processes, and strategies for law enforcement that would help them understand how violent criminals think and act. In this way, FBI agents Bob Ressler and John Douglas were among the first people to create psychological profiles of the most dangerous crooks. These early adopters were very important in creating modern criminal profiling, with a focus on profiling mass killers. Ressler is often given credit for coming up with the word serial killer. Even though the BSU shut down in 2014, other groups, such as the Behavioral Analysis Unit and the National Center for the Analysis of Violent Crime, continue to use its work. In today's video, we have some of the most upsetting cases that the Behavioral Science Unit saw in its early years. Here we go. As of September 1983, Bellevue, Nebraska was the place. A paper boy who was 13 years old went missing. His cut-up body was found in a ditch a few days later. He had bite marks all over his body. There was also proof of sexual abuse. Authorities in the area asked the FBI for help because the crime was so horrible. There were no known sex offenders in the area who fit the description that the FBI made. So, no arrests were made right away. After 3 months, another young Nebraska boy was taken and killed. He was 12 years old and had bite marks all over his body. About 2 months after the second murder, a woman saw a guy hanging out near a family daycare. When she talked to the man, he pushed her, got in his car, and drove off. The woman did get his license plate number though. John Joubert, who was 19 years old and worked at a nearby Air Force base, was the man. The FBI made a description of Joubert that fit him. He was caught and finally admitted to killing the 2 people. Not long after he was arrested, Agent Ressler was in charge of an FBI training school. 2 officers from Portland, Maine, were among the many people who came. As soon as the agents heard the Nebraska case file, they told Ressler that the murder sounded a lot like the unsolved death of an 11-year-old boy from Portland. It turned out that Joubert was from Portland. He was found guilty of all 3 killings in the end, 1 in Maine and 2 in Nebraska. He was 33 years old when he was put to death by hanging. In this case, the FBI's profile helped cut down the list of possible suspects, which led to the quick solving of 2 murders. The profile did, however, help solve a murder case on the other side of the country. There is a good chance that Joubert wouldn't have run away, moved to Nebraska, and killed 2 more people if the Maine police had this unit's help at the start. During his time with the FBI, Agent Ressler talked to a lot of serial killers. It is said that Ted Bundy was the killer who scared Ressler the most. The American killer Ted Bundy killed more than 30 women on the West Coast from 1974 to 1978. He was known for his charm, good looks, and brains. Many police officers think that Bundy killed many more women than 30. Since he was put to death in 1989, the truth will probably never be known. In 1977, while waiting for his murder trial in Colorado, Ted Bundy broke out of a prison library. The FBI was then called in to help. In order to warn women about Bundy and the danger he posed, the team made a victim profile. What did you know about the victim? Young, pretty woman with brown hair that is split in the middle. This was the first time that an FBI crime profile was used to let people know about a serial killer. The Bundy case also changed how crime is investigated for a long time. Bundy killed a lot of people from many states. This is how he was able to kill for so long without being caught. Why? It was because there wasn't a single database for criminal profiles. That changed, though, because of Bundy. There is a new national database that the FBI made that has information about the predator's behavior, attitude, and type of victim. Ressler had talked about his talks with Bundy a lot in public, and he was very honest when he said that Bundy was a whole animal. Edmund Kemper is one of the most famous serial killers in America. He is a genius with an IQ of 136. Kemper killed his grandparents for the first time when he was 15. Kemper was sent to a mental hospital where he was able to trick the staff into thinking he was no longer a threat to society. He was let out into his mother's care when he was in his early 20s. Kemper was a huge, intimidating man. He was 6 feet 9 inches and weighed over 300 pounds. After killing his mother and her friend, Kemper stopped killing people. He was known as the co-ed killer because he killed 6 college women. The FBI was very interested in Kemper and his reasons because he was very smart and could think things through clearly. Kemper says that his angry behavior toward women comes from the fact that women turned him down early on and his mother abused him. Kemper was interviewed by Ressler more than once, and the killer's ideas helped the FBI get a better picture of how a serial killer thinks. In 1978, when the case of John Wayne Gacy broke out in Chicago, Illinois, Robert Ressler offered to help the local police. He saw this as a chance to test some of his psychological profiling ideas. John Wayne Gacy had killed 33 young men between 1972 and 1978. People in and around Illinois were lured by Gacy back to his house, where he would choke them to death. 26 of the people he killed were buried under his house, and 3 were buried in his yard. It is thought that he dumped the bodies of his last victims in a nearby river. John Wayne Gacy cared about his community and would often dress up as a clown to entertain the kids in the area. After his killings were found, people started calling him Killer Clown. Well-organized serial killers usually show that they have thought things through, planned ahead, and are smart. They also have full control over their lives and how others see them. This outline fits John Wayne Gacy's personality and actions very well. The trial for Gacy began in February 1980. He was accused of killing 33 people. He said that because he had multiple personality disorders, he couldn't be fully responsible for what he did. But the jury thought he was crazy and found him guilty of all 33 charges. After being found guilty of murder, John Wayne Gacy was given the death penalty and put to death by lethal injection in Illinois. He was 52 years old. During his trial, Gacy said that his alter ego actually did the killings. This made Robert Ressler realize that even the most organized criminals can lose touch with their crimes. It proved that a man who is under control and can act properly in public can also be the most dangerous. In 1991, cops in Wisconsin found something in a small apartment that shocked them to the core. At 31 years old, Jeffrey Dahmer was a quiet guy who killed men and kept their bodies. Tracy Edwards, who was 32 years old, went home with Dahmer that night without knowing what his new friend was up to. Edwards had left the apartment and told police a scary story about being caught by Dahmer and abused while being held by him. When the cops went back to Dahmer's apartment, they found him rocking and not able to connect with anything, just like Tracy Edwards had left him hours before. As the police searched Dahmer's apartment, they knew they had a serial killer on their hands who had been killing people for a while. Robert Ressler was asked to talk to Dahmer after he was arrested so that he could speak in his defense based on his lawyer's insanity plea. The facts of this case were hard for Ressler to understand, and it was different from any other case he had seen. 17 men and boys were killed and cut up by Jeffrey Dahmer in Wisconsin between 1978 and 1991. He had done necrophilia and cannibalism and kept body parts from his victims all over his flat. He had also taken pictures of many of his victims' bodies. It surprised Robert Ressler how calm Dahmer was and how willing he was to talk about his crimes, his feelings and motivations, and the reasons he did the horrible things he did. Ressler says that Dahmer was emotionally driven to do bad things, and that once someone was in his room, he couldn't stop trying to keep that person with him to reach his goal. Dahmer let Ressler into his mind and led him into a secret world of his killing's thoughts, feelings, and emotions. This was the first time Ressler could get to this world. He said he felt like he was watching himself while he was committing the crimes, which is a clear sign of dissociation, which is often caused by a personality disorder. In January 1992, Jeffrey Dahmer went to court in Milwaukee to plead guilty to all charges brought against him. Dahmer's lawyers said he was crazy and couldn't be held responsible for what he did. Several psychiatrists and psychologists spoke in support of Dahmer and said he had borderline personality disorder and schizotypal personality disorder. The prosecution didn't agree and called in forensic psychiatrist Dr. Park Dietz. Dietz said he didn't think Dahmer was crazy or had a mental illness when he did his crimes. The 15 murders Jeffrey Dahmer was charged with were found to be true in February 1992. He was also found to be of sound mind. He was given a life sentence without the chance of parole because Wisconsin got rid of the death punishment in 1853. He was sent to the Columbia Correctional Institution in Portage, Wisconsin. After being locked up alone for a year, he and another prisoner, Jesse Anderson, were killed by another prisoner, Christopher Scarver, in 1994. Robert Ressler's first example of a serial killer who lost control during a mental episode was Jeffrey Dahmer. This set the tone for how he would study psychopaths in the future. Mind and motives aren't always so simple and easy to put into groups. The Dahmer case also showed that the most brutal and horrible killers could be the man next door, a family member, a friend, or a coworker. What do you think about profiling? Let's hear it in the comments section. Like and subscribe to this channel to see more videos like this. Thanks for watching.